organization Defend Our Democracy has launched an electoral reform campaign. The campaign is calling on members of parliament to reject the Electoral Amendment Bill and for credible electoral reforms that allow for greater accountability of elected representatives. MPs are expected to vote on the bill later this month. More on this, we're joined by Zwelinzima Vavi, the General Secretary of the SA Federation of Trade Unions. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Vavi. What is your take on this matter?
Well, yesterday we were honored to attend the launch of a campaign spearheaded by the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation and Defend Our Democracy NGO, which seeks to unite civil society organizations in a continuous battle to defend the democracy and the gains of democracy in our country. The reason why we support this is because SAFTU, in its own National Congress, made a call that says that we must amend, we must restructure the electoral system in South Africa to accommodate a combination of a PR, which is the proportional representation, and a constituency-based system. We needed that because of obvious reasons. We wanted communities to have a greater opportunity to hold their members of parliament accountable, and that members of parliament must be elected through a proportional representation system by the constituencies that should be redefined in line with the recommendations of the Van Slabbert report that have been gathering dust since 1999. So that's the first point that we made. And secondly, we noted rather happily that the Constitutional Court made a ruling that the Electoral Bill or the Electoral Act of South Africa must be amended 12 months down the line to allow every individual of South Africa who have ambition to be a member of parliament or to be the president or to be a cabinet minister or anything to stand in the elections in their individual capacity to lobby for support and to be elected. And this bill that the president is supposed to, or the parliament is currently engaging with, is an attempt to respond to that Constitutional Court decision. And thirdly, the Zondo Commission recently made a very important recommendation that the electoral system must change as one way of improving the accountability of members of parliament. Because the fundamental problem with the PR system, when it is not diluted with a constituency-based and when individuals cannot stand and say, this is what I stand for, please elect me, is that the PR system produces zombies. PR system produces psychopaths. Leadership surrounds themselves with a wall of psychopaths, of people who can no longer think on their own because they fear that they may not be appointed, nominated by a more powerful faction in a divided political party. So the issue of individuals standing on behalf of a constituency that is defined dies the day that people are selected in a party system to be members of parliament. And that's why we making an appeal to the president and to all the members of parliament to fundamentally amend the bill that is currently in front of them that they are debating in parliament so that it can allow constituency-based system, it can allow each and every individual to stand. And the problem with the current bill is that it discriminates fundamentally against individuals who seek to stand, even in the counting of the numbers of who qualifies to go to parliament. You stand a better chance, according to this bill, to be in parliament if you are a member of a party and you don't stand a chance if you are standing as an individual. And
Yes.
we believe that a bill of that kind, discriminating, will go against what the Constitutional Court have said must happen in the country.
Yeah, I suppose with some of the analysis coming in and the views around this bill is the concern that it's important to catalyze society well, as a country, because then this would then allow a risk of politicians making changes willy-nilly to the act for their own preservation.
Exactly. And that's what is happening now in Parliament. The leaders of all unions, this time they are going to be united, all of them. And there will be very few of them that will stand in support of the individual persons in South Africa's right to stand in pursuance of the objectives of the Constitution. It now is self-preservation time. All of them will say the current system must be protected because the current system gives them a far greater chance to be re-elected into their positions in 2024. And they will reject a situation where, for the first time, me and you would want to know who is representing me in this constituency and who gets what mandate, what does that person do in Parliament. This is what we stand for as the people. We stand for Ubuntu, we stand for selflessness, we stand for development of our communities. We are opposed to corruption. We want leadership that have integrity and that spouses the best traditions of the people of this country. We know those traditions and they're centered around Ubuntu and selflessness. So that any person who does not conform to those standards of our people will be kicked out. The reason why these parliamentarians are now uniting to reject a constituency-based system and to make sure that those that will stand as individuals stands no chance of becoming members of parliament in 24 is because they know if they were to return back to us and say, please elect us, we represent you in this constituency that will be defined, most of them will be told by ordinary people that we have done nothing for us for the past 28 years. Why must we elect you again to go and enjoy a gravy train in Parliament?
Mr. Vavi, this process in itself is highly political because it now speaks to the future of the country's democracy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why we must be very thankful that you are giving us an opportunity to explain this to the citizens of South Africa so that they can follow this bill. We want to make a call that SAFTU unions must debate this. The COSATU as a federation, producer, the rest of the working class formations who themselves have made their own calls for the change of the current electoral system must study the current bill and must rally behind the calls that are currently being made, that the bill must be sent back, must be redrafted, and must comply with the Constitutional Court decision, and must comply with the Zondo Commission recommendation, and must improve accountability of members of parliament instead of the current system where we only see our supposed elected members of parliament in every 5-year intervals.
Perhaps, Mr. Vavi, just veering off topic very slightly, the public sector strike on the cards, that in itself looming. What is your position at this stage?
There's a background to this, why SAFTU wants a strike in 2022 by the public sector, why SAFTU supports the Transnet strike at this particular moment. If you look at what has been happening in the economy, you will not miss the fact that this economy have seen this happening. The share of wages in the GDP has been declining since 1991, whilst the levels of profit by private firms has been increasing steadily right through the democratic process that started essentially 1993, 1994, 28 years down the line. The levels of remuneration of the CEOs, the executives of the state-owned enterprises, and the cabinet ministers, including the president, has been shooting and going through the roof. And this is what is causing income inequalities in South Africa to grow to the extent that they have grown, making South Africa the most unequal society in the world as we speak. This speaks to the fact that combination of a capture of the ANC government itself, neoliberalism, austerity programs now, and the big push by the firms and who the balance of forces is in their favor, have led to the situation where the wages are being suppressed. In 2022, this is the second point. The 2022 is a different year altogether in that the price of electricity have increased by 16%. The price of food basket have increased by 14.9% in 1 year between June 2021 and June 22. Overall, between December 2019 and to date, the price of food, the food basket have increased by a staggering 47%, and leading to the situation where a family of 4 require a 4,700 rands just to be able to eat rice on Sunday. No meat every day, no salad, no nutritious food. Secondly, the price of fuel. We pay 26 rand a liter for diesel in the inlands. We pay 22 rands for petrol. The price of interest rates, which is hitting on workers very hard, those who have bonded houses and those who are paying their cars through an arrangement with the banks, it has increased to a 9.2%. The price of everything is going through the roof. Workers today are spending 36% of their income on transport because 80% of them are now using taxis, which are more expensive, unsafe, unreliable. Of everything is being carried at the back of workers. The crisis of capitalism is being externalized to workers themselves. And that's why we're saying enough is enough. Workers must draw the line on the sand in the public sector and unite. We are worried that one of the most important unions in the public service, SAFTU, have already indicated its willingness to accept this insulting 3% wage offer. We are making an appeal to SAFTU to join the rest of the public sector unions, be they in COSATU, SAFTU, PEDUSA, or even independents, in rejecting the 3%. The SAFTU unions, I have already balloted. One union already has the result in Newzroom. 95% of its members are saying we must prepare and embark on the strike as soon as yesterday. Our call is to everybody to ballot now and to hear out the members, including SAFTU. Can SAFTU ballot the teachers and see if teachers will accept that 3% or whether they will stand behind the 8% bottom line that unions have presented in the Public Service Bargaining Chamber.
Very well. Thank you so much for weighing in on that. Of course, wrapping up with the public sector wage strike, that input from Zwelinzima Vavi, giving us his take there.